This next chapter is all about viewing your work in CorelDRAW X4. There are a number of different view modes that come in handy. We'll explore those first, and then we'll move on to preview modes to preview your work before you send it to a printer or a print shop. We'll also use the View Manager, look at the Zoom tool, and then we'll do some finding and replacing, both with objects and text. First, though, we're going to explore those different view modes I was talking about using the file I have open here. It's called viewing1.cdr. You'll find it in the Lesson 8 folder of your exercise files if you want to follow along. And you can see this particular file is a one-pager, but it has a number of objects on the page. Here I've got some text with some special fills and a drop shadow. I've got an object using a postscript fill here, the stained glass effect. I've got another object with some distortion and special fill. Here you'll see a bitmap image. Over to the right, another image with a special fill and an extrusion, makes it look three-dimensional. And then I've got a series of squares here that blend from one color to another using the blending tool. Things you're going to be doing later on in this title, by the way. Right now, though, we're going to look at the different view modes, talk about the advantages of each and the effects it has on your work. So we go up to our View menu, and probably what you're going to see in the top section is a little dot next to Enhanced with Overprints, and that's usually the default view. You may have Enhanced selected, but we're going to start at the top with Simple Wireframe. Now remember all of those objects and some of the effects. When we click on Simple Wireframe, you can see how simple this view really is. Well, first of all, when we refresh this screen, it's going to be very fast. You're missing all of the fills. You're missing things like the extrusion, the postscript fills. The bitmap is grayscale, so it's not using up much memory here. Look at my blend, which went from one square to another with a whole bunch of steps in between. I'm just seeing the beginning and the last, but no fills, no extrusions. All of those are ripped off in this view so that you can just get a feel for the layout and the basic elements on your drawing page. That's what this view is all about. Now, if you need a little bit more detail, you can go up to the View menu and go down to the next one, which is a little bit more than a simple wireframe. It's a wireframe. When I click on that, you can see representations. For example, under View Modes here, it looks like a bit of a perspective on this rectangle. That's representing my drop shadow. Each of these stars also has a square around it representing the drop shadow. The extrusion is not a real extrusion, but you can see a representation of where that might happen. And look at the blend. It doesn't have the fills and the special effects, but it does have all the steps in between. So it's a little bit more than just the basic elements of my page here that I'm viewing in wireframe view, but a little more detail than the previous. Let's go up to the View menu now and go down to Draft. Now the draft view is another way to view your work, but without using up too much of your system resources. So you can see things, for example, like this bitmap down here, if you were to zoom in, is a little bit pixelated. Same thing for the fill in my X4 extruded box here. If I look at this star, it's got a bunch of PS's in there, short for postscript. So I'm not actually seeing the postscript fill, but I know that there is a postscript fill by those PS's that I see inside the star. So in this case, I'm getting a little bit of a feel for the color balances in my page. I do see some of the fill colors at least. So this is a great view for refreshing your screen quickly, but at the same time getting a feel for some of the color in there. All right, let's go up to the View menu now and down to Normal. Now with the normal view, you can see it's getting a little bit more detailed. Now I still have some jagged edges. The angled lines or on any curves, you'll see jagged edges. I do see colors. I do see those drop shadows now. Postscript fills, I still don't see them. I just see the initials PS repeated throughout this star, telling me there is a postscript fill. Look at the gradient fills that I see in the extrusion. They show up now. So this is a pretty good view. It will refresh quickly because I'm not seeing high resolution graphics or bitmaps, but I am seeing the bitmap with a little bit more detail. So it's just on the verge of a really enhanced view here. In fact, if we go up to the View menu, you'll see the next one is Enhanced. Now when I click on Enhanced, I'm seeing pretty much the greatest detail that I'm going to see in my document. So those jagged edges we saw are a little bit smoother now. There's some anti-aliasing that's being used in the enhanced view. The only thing I see is a little bit of a jagged edge down there, but that's the extrusion, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Not necessarily how it's going to print. Keep in mind too that what you're seeing on your screen from my screen may look different than the actual file on your own screen in CorelDRAW just because of the resolution of the movie you're watching. So keep that in mind too. So this is our enhanced view, and the only other view to talk about is enhanced with overprints. If I click on it though, you're not going to see any difference in this file. If you're going to be sending your work to a professional print shop where they do have overprints, for example, if you've got two objects of different colors overlapping one another, well then those two colors blending together where they overlap will create a new color. That's what we call an overprint. We don't have any in this file, so we don't see the effects switching from enhanced to enhanced with, as you can see from the view menu, overprints selected. So I'm going to leave it at that even though I don't have any overprints. Again, this is going to take up the most system resources. It's going to take the longest to refresh, but it's as close to the finished product that I'm going to see when I actually print this out. So those are the different view modes you have to choose from. In the next lesson, we're going to talk along the same lines, but look at preview modes. Preview modes allow you to check your work before you actually send them off to a print shop or to an actual printer.